My wife started a secret OF account after believing it was empowering her, until I caught her in the act and divorced her for good. I'm here to share a story that's been weighing heavily on my heart. It's a tale of trust, betrayal, and ultimately, the journey to reclaiming my own life. Buckle up. It's a long one. So, a little background. My wife, Sophie, and I have been married for nearly 5 years. We met in college and fell head over heels for each other. She was always the more adventurous one, while I was the steady, grounded type. We balanced each other out well, or so I thought. About a year ago, Sophie started talking about empowerment and self-expression. She was inspired by social media influencers and the idea of owning her body. At first, I supported her. I mean, who wouldn't want their partner to feel confident and free? She asked me what my opinions are of OF and the amount of money you can earn from it. I think she was expecting me to be okay with it, because her face dropped slightly when I told her that it's a way for women who pretend to be empowered, but it actually does more harm than good. Things started to change after that. Naively, I never connected this to the conversation that we had previously. She became increasingly secretive, spending hours on her phone, often late into the night. I tried to brush it off as her exploring new hobbies or interests, but a nagging feeling began to settle in my gut. One evening, I got home from work early and noticed the door to our bedroom was slightly ajar. I could hear muffled voices and laughter. My heart raced as I approached, and when I peeked inside, I saw Sarah on her laptop, a ring light illuminating her face, giggling and chatting with someone on a video call. I was confused at first, thinking maybe she was just on a Zoom call with friends. But then, I caught a glimpse of the screen, and my heart sank. There it was, an OF page. My wife was in the middle of a live stream, and I could see her interacting with subscribers. My mind went blank. I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. I was torn between confronting her right then and there, or stepping back to process what I had just witnessed. I chose the latter, quietly backing away and leaving the house for a walk. As I strolled through our neighborhood, I felt a whirlwind of emotions: betrayal, anger, sadness, and confusion. I thought about all the times she had told me how much she loved me, how we were a team. But here she was, sharing intimate parts of herself with strangers online. I couldn't shake the feeling that our entire relationship had been a lie. When I returned home, Sophie was still in the zone, completely unaware of my discovery. I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt and waited until the next day to talk. I felt like I needed to approach it calmly, but deep down, I was fuming. The next morning, I confronted her. I told her I knew about the OF account and asked her to explain herself. Her reaction was a mix of surprise and defensiveness. She claimed it was empowering and that she was doing it for herself, not for anyone else. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she was doing it for validation. I told her how hurt I was and how this felt like a betrayal of our marriage vows. Her response: "You're just not understanding how important this is for me." We went back and forth, and it quickly became clear that we were on two completely different pages. I didn't want to control her choices, but I also couldn't accept that she was willing to share herself so publicly without discussing it with me first. It felt like a fundamental breach of trust. After a few days of tension, I made the tough decision to file for divorce. It was a heart-wrenching choice, but I knew I couldn't stay in a relationship where I felt disrespected and unvalued. I wanted a partner who would share their life with me, not someone who would prioritize strangers on the internet. The divorce process was painful, filled with tears and long discussions about what went wrong. Sophie tried to convince me to reconsider, claiming she would shut down the account, but I had already made up my mind. I needed to prioritize my own well-being and happiness. Looking back, I realized that this experience taught me a lot about boundaries, self-respect, and the importance of open communication in a relationship. As hard as it was to let her go, I feel a sense of relief now. I'm slowly rediscovering who I am outside of that marriage, and it feels good. To anyone going through something similar, trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Empowerment should never come at the expense of your partner's feelings or your shared values. Here's to new beginnings and finding the right person who respects and values you. On to the next story. My wife refuses to get rid of old sex videos she made with her ex and thinks it's very unfair that I'm asking her to get rid of them. This felt like a huge disrespect and disregard for your current partner. So I will be divorcing her so that she can watch those videos anytime she likes. I'm here to share my story, and honestly, it's a tough one to recount. I'm hoping to get some perspective on this whole situation. So, a little background. I've been married to my wife, Amy, for about 5 years. We have a pretty solid relationship, or at least I thought we did. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but overall, I believed we were on the same page when it came to our future together. Recently, We had a conversation that turned into a heated argument. It all started when I stumbled upon a folder on her laptop labeled Memories. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. Inside, I found old videos of her with her ex-boyfriend. They were intimate, personal, and honestly, it felt like I was intruding on something that should have been private. I confronted her about it, and she was surprisingly nonchalant. She told me they were just old videos from a time when she was young and foolish. She insisted that they were merely nostalgic tokens of her past, and that they didn't mean anything to her anymore. I tried to explain how uncomfortable it made me feel, how seeing her with someone else in such an intimate way felt like a betrayal. I thought we had built a life together, and yet here I was, faced with a reminder of her past that I never signed up for. Her response was that I was being unreasonable. She said it was unfair to ask her to get rid of something that was part of her history. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I understand that we all have pasts, but I couldn't shake the feeling that keeping those videos was a sign of disrespect toward our marriage. It felt like a door to her past that she was unwilling to close, and I was left standing in the shadow of someone else. After days of wrestling with my thoughts, I made the decision to file for divorce. I told her that if those videos meant so much to her, then she could have all the freedom in the world to watch them. I didn't want to be the one holding her back from her nostalgia. It was a hard conversation, and I could see the shock on her face. I felt like I was breaking her heart, but I also realized I had to prioritize my own feelings and self-respect. The days following my decision were a whirlwind. Amy tried to convince me to reconsider, saying that I was overreacting. She even offered to delete them right then and there. But I knew it wasn't just about the videos anymore. It was about trust, respect, and the emotional space we were supposed to share as partners. I moved out of our home and into a small apartment nearby. The silence was deafening. I missed her, but I also felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Friends and family were supportive, but I could tell some were confused. Is it really worth throwing away a marriage over old videos? They'd ask. And while I understood their perspective, I knew this was about more than just the videos. It was about feeling valued and respected in a relationship. Eventually, I found a sense of peace in my decision. I started focusing on myself, hobbies I had neglected, reconnecting with friends, and even exploring new interests. I realized that I deserved to be in a relationship where I feel secure and appreciated, not one where I'm constantly reminded of someone else's past. As for Amy, I hope she finds happiness in her own way. I truly believe that everyone should be free to embrace their past, but I also believe that in a committed relationship, there needs to be a mutual understanding of what that means for both partners. So here I am, navigating this new chapter of my life, and I guess I just wanted to share my story. It's been a tough road, but I'm learning to embrace the future one day at a time. Thanks for reading. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Did I overreact? Am I being unreasonable? What did you think of these stories? Let me know your thoughts about them in the comments, and thanks for listening.